You must be at least 18 years of age to listen to the following podcast. I am Robert Black, and you are listening to Sexual Heroes. May is Masturbation Month. Who better to celebrate with than one of the first openly solosexual online performers, my good mate Rick, known by the moniker ProudBator. Rick is a returning Sexual Heroes guest and a contestant in the Great BateWorld Bateoff. Hey Rick, thanks for joining me on Sexual Heroes today. Your second time.
Yeah.
You and I were talking offline, just the two of us the other day, and you suggested, hey, maybe, it's Masturbation Month. This would be a good time to talk about it and capture it in a podcast.
Absolutely. We spoke last time, and we had so much that we left to discuss, and, this is a great opportunity right now.
The first thing I wanted to talk about is the origin of Masturbation Month, because I found out some really interesting things. Do you know how it started?
Yeah, roughly. Yeah, it started with a PhD student called Carol Queen. Is that right?
Queen, and, Carol Queen.
Feminist and sexologist. And
right.
She's got a PhD on the subject. I was halfway through to studying sexology, and I ended up giving up. But yeah, so I'm guessing that's how it all started, with Carol.
She was the inspiration for it, and the reason. What inspired her was that at the time, our Surgeon General, Dr. Jocelyn Elders here in the United States, first African-American female Surgeon General, and our president fired her because she had said publicly that she thought masturbation should be taught in sex ed courses in the school system.
Exactly.
And there was such an outrage. He terminated her position. Unbelievable. At the time, Carol Queen was with a company called Good Vibrations, and she's still with them in some capacity. She kind of represents them as like kind of the public face on the company is what I get from the website. Mm-hmm. And, she's a doctor, a sexologist. At the time, they were doing masturbate-a-thons. Yeah. It started out, apparently the masturbate-a-thon was to raise money, and people would simply just kind of, I guess like you used to do with a walkathon, you'd get people to kind of sponsor you. And then depending on, how many hours you spent masturbating or how many times you did, I don't know how they did it exactly, but it was something that was done privately. And then it evolved into, evolved into a public event. And I happened to be at one of those. In 2008, I was one of the celebrity guest performers, and I'll talk about that in more detail later. It was at that time when Dr. Elders got fired from that position, she came up with the idea of Masturbation Month. So we owe it all to her, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. We do.
Thank you, Dr. Queen.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Queen. Imagine her thoughts now, looking back at all of this and thinking, I did this. I started this.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So I've met her because at the Masturbate-a-thon, she was there. I also want to say, before we get too far into this interview, I predict that there's going to be a lot of puns, double entendres galore.
Yeah.
So I'm just heads up.
Very good.
There we go.
Yeah.
See?
You go for it.
Heads up. See, here, we're starting already. Okay. Right. So the other day I tweeted that I thought maybe Masturbation Month should be called Solosexual Pride Month.
Mm.
The reason is I think it gets to the issue of what
it is all about. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I get you. Yeah.
Because people are so ashamed about it.
Yeah.
They don't talk about it. They hide it. God, you'd never talk to your parents about it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's one of the discussions I had with an interview, with another written interview. And we sort of discussed about the sense of shame that people have. As you pointed out, it could potentially be a solo issue as opposed to being a just generic masturbation month.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, it's about self-discovery, it's about yourself.
And it's totally normal. When I think solosexual Pride Month, I'm not necessarily indicating people who identify only as solosexual, like a Pride Month for them, because I think solosexuality is something that you can enjoy for 5 minutes, an hour, a week, or a lifetime. So solosexuality in general is, it's just it encompasses so much. So I'm just putting it out there to everybody. I think it should be solosexual Pride Month.
When all of this started, it was about the act itself. I'm guessing not about individuals. It was about the act itself. So it's fair to be called Masturbation Month, but I totally get your point.
When I say solosexual, I'm not indicating the way somebody identifies, but the act itself. So a solosexual act and pride, connecting it with pride. And anyway, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I guess since we did mention the Masturbate-a-thon, I kind of wanted to share a little bit about that story because I've mentioned it before, but I've never really gone into detail. And I don't know how it started. And so, I became one of their celebrity guest performers, and all the other performers, the ones that were there specifically to perform for the audience and not just, on the sidelines doing their thing, they were all female. Everybody was female. Right away, I got kind of intimidated. That's a lot of pressure.
I guess her point was about the females, feminism.
Well, no, I just think I think it was easier for them to get female performers at the time. And this was back in, I think it was 2008. And a female you can fake your way through it, right? You don't have to show an erection. So I think it's easier for them to create some kind of performance art around masturbation. But I really needed to rise to the occasion. And
you needed to work,
Yeah, it was challenging because there were a couple of side rooms where people were doing their own thing, not performers, but just there as, part of the Bate-a-thon. And then there was one large area with, kind of the stage section, but then they actually had a seated audience of people who had gotten tickets to come into the Bate-a-thon. I mean, clothed women, men. So
can you imagine?
Yeah, you would love it. I know.
Yeah. Bring it on, baby. I'll be ready.
But I saw that and I was like, oh my God, what did I get myself into?
Yeah.
So my idea was I wanted to come in my own mouth. That was going to be kind of the thing to make it more interesting instead of just sitting there jerking off. So they had a couch there and I did kind of a strip, sort of a strip tease and then got into position. So I was, upside down on the couch, head hanging down off the seat, legs up, and I was stroking. And it was challenging just because there were, all these people around and the fantasy of doing it was way different than the reality.
Yeah.
Well, they had a violinist there and he decided that he was going to help me out. So he came to my side closer and he started playing this tune. I wish I knew. It's probably a familiar tune that people would know, but, and he just, as I was getting closer and closer, he was going faster and faster.
Yeah.
Until I eventually did shoe in my mouth. But I want to tell you that was challenging.
Well, good on you. Yes. Well, I can only imagine because you have so many things happening, and you have to jiggle between, okay, how am I gonna do this? How am I gonna work? And how am I gonna look good as well?
Yeah.
Whilst I'm still like shaking, nervous, or
yeah. When you masturbate on your own, you kind of can get inside your head, but when there's an audience, it's you're thinking about making it entertaining as well as enjoying yourself. As far as I know, they don't exist today, at least not put on by the Center for Sex and Culture, which is the ones who had hosted it when I did it. Maybe we can get a Masturbate-a-thon here in Palm Springs. That would be fun. The other day we were chatting and you said something about there being a difference between a bater, Bater, and a Bator, Bator. Can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, sure. People ask me what the difference is because they think it is just a misspelling. Like, I was actually mentioned on a podcast the other day and they said, "Oh, ProudBator with OR. How odd. It must be a mistake or a misspelling." And I was just laughing to myself thinking, oh my God, this guy has know nothing about baters. Mm-hmm. So this is the way that I see it, not someone else's. It is not someone else's opinion. A bater with ER is someone who is a casual baiter, someone who enjoys doing this and doing that and baiting. And, so most people who enjoy masturbation, I guess, they could be considered baiters with ER. But they can also enjoy other things, sex, penetration, or whatever. Whilst a bator with OR, those are the people who dedicate their sexual lives to masturbation. Those are the true baitors. So they are not interested in sex. They are not interested in anything else but masturbation. So if you think about it as well, masturbator. So if you cut that down and call it bator, then you have the person, the masturbator, the person who does it. Mm-hmm. A baiter with ER would be connected to the act itself, masturbate. Mm-hmm. So you just cut those two words. One is about the act, and it's very generic. The other one is about the person.
It's about identification.
Yeah, it's how you identify it. Yeah, if you want to call yourself a baiter, just because, go ahead. But if you call yourself a baiter with OR, people will be expecting you to bait only.
Well, I don't know about that. I consider myself a baiter. OR. A baiter. OR. Because so let's talk about how I see the difference.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Someone who is a baiter, Bater, is someone who would talk about being a baiter and write it as Bater because they're not even aware of Bator. It's somebody who the community isn't on their radar. It's not a focus of their sexuality. Does that make any sense?
Yep, it does make total sense.
And for them, for someone like that, baiting might be something they do because what they'd rather be doing isn't available and they want to get off. So they're going to just masturbate. But a baiter, Bator, is somebody who enjoys baiting as steak and potatoes sex. Like that is a great act, and it's not something that you're settling for. That's how I see the difference.
Yep, you're not far from what I said, and it's good that we talk about it because I can literally see that a lot of people get confused, and a lot of people think it is a misspelling problem. Okay, so ProudBator, for example, my username, ProudBator was not available, so he had to use the one with OR. But in fact, I've been around for a long time as ProudBator. At the time, there was nothing like that around. And I specifically chose my username because of that reason.
Right.
But I can definitely see people get
Yeah.
sort of mixed up with the spelling.
The Bator community certainly has grown over the years.
Hell yes.
Because when did you start your presence? The spokesperson?
The spokesperson of Bate, 2007, roughly.
Wow.
That's when I knew for sure this is what I want to do. And it's so funny how it changed, because it changed over the years. When I started, and then later on I found BateWorld a couple of years later, 2 or 3 years later, I found about BateWorld. I felt like I had found my family, really. Yeah. But before that, it was so bizarre, because everybody was like onto me, like, what's the problem with this guy? What's wrong with him? You know,
right.
Like, I've read many topics on it, and of people asking, what the fuck is wrong with this guy?
Okay, so here we are. It's Masturbation Month, and BateWorld has created an event called the Great BateWorld Bateoff.
When they told me about the title, I laughed, because I thought,
very clever.
It does sound it does sound like something else, but it's actually really clever, because it's got a humor to it, and I really enjoy it. I thought it was genius.
Can you tell everybody a little bit about what the Bateoff is?
It is a sort of a reality type competition, and there are 6 contestants, and I'm one of them. And each week we have been tasked with a challenge. In 1 week we have to present a video, 5-minute videos actually, for each one of us. So each week, each one of us has to present a 5-minute video that BateWorld will then put together in a much longer video. Mm-hmm. And each week has a specific challenge. For example, the first one, which came out today, is revolving around morning wood. So, so you have to be in bed, and we have to show the viewers what we do with morning wood, and how we solve the situation, as I call it in my videos. And so next week, I'm not entirely sure what's coming, but I think it is something to do with baiting with food. I may be mistaken. And so on and so forth. So at the end, one of the contestants will be crowned the Masturbation 2022.
Wonderful. Now, so I looked at that first video of the contestants, the morning wood video. Yeah, of course I did.
I'm interested to see what you're gonna say.
I'm very impressed.
Are you? Oh, that's good. Yeah. I'm actually really impressed with the other contestants as well.
Yeah. Of course, I'm very impressed with you.
Thank you.
Not all of them have a very public persona, correct?
That's correct. Yeah. I think one of the, I'm not going to give all the names, but I think 1 or 2 of the guys are not actually performers. They're just baiters.
Yeah. Good on them.
Yeah. Good on them. Yeah, that's what I said to them as well. I said, oh, good on you, mate. Yeah. You're not a performer. You have no experience with being in the public eye. And I can definitely tell that they're kind of, trying to stay really private with their identities and things like that. And I really respect that. I think each one of us is on a completely different stage in our online presence, per se. Right. And good on them for doing it.
Yeah, even my own online presence around baiting has really evolved and continues to evolve. And, I found out that baiting on cam is not going to lead to the end of the world.
No, exactly.
It's a lot of fun. So it's running 6 weeks, 6 different challenges, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And then it's fan based. So it goes by number of votes that are cast for each performer.
Yeah, that's right. So each member of BateWorld can vote only once. And if you have a premium account, you can vote twice.
Yeah. Yes, I did look at the first challenge video.
Yeah.
Yes. And on the when you go to the website, it shows each of the contestants and it asks them to answer different questions. One of the questions that they asked each of the baiters was, what's your favorite bait fantasy? You said it was to have a baiter ranch.
Yep.
Well, tell me about that.
Yeah, because, I live in New Zealand, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is a place where we have more sheep than people. It's 5 million people.
Uh-huh.
So a lot of people live in rural areas.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always dreamt about having a sort of a farm, sort of a retreat that you could have, and you could welcome all the baiters for the weekend or something.
Mm.
And then obviously everything revolving around bait. Everything would be really well organized. Like, okay, everybody, it's 8 a.m. Let's bait in this theme, or this is what we're going to do this morning,
Mm-hmm.
or this is what we're going to do this afternoon. It's not like a place you go to and, just do whatever you like. It's a place with rosters and a really well organized sort of, literally a retreat.
Yeah. The different events would all revolve around baiting or not necessarily?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. All of them would be all about bait.
Not excursions to go.
No, not at all.
Sightseeing.
We would definitely not be looking for mushrooms. Yeah.
Okay. Well, now I'm just thinking we should have a masturbation or a baiter resort here in Palm Springs. It could be called In Hand. INN
Mm-hmm.
hand.
In hand. Yeah. Good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wah, wah.
No, that was a good one. Yeah.
So you still have a Just for Fans account, and do you want to talk about it and how has that evolved?
Well, I'm getting older. I'm maturing now. So I think, to be honest, a lot of people, because this is something that I was thinking about yesterday. This may veer off the topic a little bit, but a lot of people that follow my stuff, they think of me as that young man in his 20s. And that a lot of the stuff that's still coming out today on social media is from 10 years ago. So obviously I look like a baby. But as I'm maturing now,
you still look like a baby.
Well, that's the hope. But as I'm getting older, I feel like this is the perfect time for me to show what I can do. Because I have, like, if you watch a lot of people ask me, why don't you post those really old videos from 15 years ago or so? Man, I was all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
I was like moving around and telling people, I'm going to move this camera. I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
And nowadays I'm like, okay, this is it, guys. Let's do it. It's like I built a lot more confidence over the years that I didn't have before.
Right.
And I guess this is the way that I'm evolving now. And, well, I hope that the future is going to be nice and bright because I'm just getting better and better and better in what I do.
If you want to talk about age and numbers, you're still on the young side of the spectrum of performers out there right now, because there's a lot of guys doing it into their 60s.
Yeah. And this is something else that I've noticed. Like the people that, like I'm on sort of crossroads right now. I'm sort of in the generic sort of type. As before, I was the twink. But I'm not old enough to be a daddy or like the daddy bear type. So I'm sort of in the right now, I'm sort of in that mid sort of limbo. What are you? Like, because I'm not a hairy guy. I'm not a twink anymore, but I'm not old enough to be the daddy type. So this could be sort of harming a little bit in terms of business.
Okay. Well, on the flip side of that, though, I think people can look at you and see what they want to see. If they're younger than you and they want to see an older daddy, they can see that in you.
Definitely.
If they're older and they want to see somebody boyish, let me tell you, you pull that off for sure.
Can I pull it off still?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
You mentioned that you're not hairy.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I'm not at all. No, I just have pubes and hairy legs, but I have no hair anywhere else. It's just natural. naturally smooth.
Now, I've talked about this before in podcasts. I had somebody on, Furry Critter, who we talked about him being hairy because it's something that I always wished that I was. I always wanted to have this super hairy chest.
Well, join the club.
Oh, that's what I was going to ask you. Is that something that you wish you had, or
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like, I really wish, like, that's what I find attractive in other guys, you know, and I wish I had that too, but yeah, so that wasn't for me, and I'm just going to accept whatever I've got.
Do you feel the way I do, which is that an incredible advantage as a performer if you're hairy?
Oh, absolutely. 100%. And that's what I notice as well on social media. Like, anyone who's got a hairy chest that posts something online will get thousands of likes.
Right.
So you definitely can see that that's what people want to.
Yeah.
That's what people mostly enjoy.
I said in an earlier podcast that if there were two versions of me, one hairy, one smooth, and we each were on Chatterbait performing, the hairy version of me would have
would crash the site.
would have definitely 10 times more viewers. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Is there a performer that you look at and you think, wow, this guy's really got it together. He's so cool.
There are quite a few performers, actually. A hairy artist. I don't know if you've heard of him. He's from Fort Lauderdale. I think he's on his 60s now, but he started at around the same time that I started.
Okay.
He was doing similar bait stuff, solo stuff as well. Boy, he was amazing. So that's someone that I truly admire.
Why?
Oh, because I think he plays with fantasies as well, and that's something that I really enjoy exploring. He's not the kind of person who sits there and just bait, you know. Mm-hmm. He'll, just like me, he will always go, you know, explore.
Like?
The ways he's presenting and the ways, you know, like he builds a fantasy around the stuff that he's doing.
How do you inject fantasy into a solo performance?
Oh, there's so many ways, but mostly by creating a narrative. And that's what I really enjoy doing. I create a narrative. Like, today I'm going to be the priest, and this is what we're going to do. So let's pray with conviction. And you build a story from there. Instead of just sitting there, oh, I'm going to come. So to me, I try to stay away from that and sort of normally have a theme or a topic and then really go for it.
You had mentioned to me something about there being pitfalls to being a baiter. What kind of pitfalls would a baiter experience? A
lot of people can perceive masturbation as something to be shameful of. And now we have Masturbation Month, and we are having the Bateoff, which is a new thing in this little universe of ours. And I think things are changing a lot, but there are still many people who feel like they have to hide it. And this can cause a lot of, I'm guessing, mental struggles for people. Because imagine if you are a proud baiter, just think about it like this. Imagine you being the proudest baiter ever and not tell anyone about it, or not being able to demonstrate it or explore it with other people or tell other people about it because of, I don't know, cultural background, because not many countries are the same, eh? Like every country has their completely different ways to perceive masturbation.
If you go somewhere let's say you're going to a party and it's a party where there's a bunch of gay men. And if people were talking about their sexuality and somebody said, oh yeah, I'm solosexual.
I'm a baiter.
They'd probably all just become slack-jawed for a moment and not even know how to respond to that.
Yep, exactly. Well, I've been in that situation many times before myself. Like people ask me, what are you into? Are you top? Are you bottom? What's the story? And I was like, okay, I'm actually a baiter. I have nothing to do with other stuff. Oh, what do you mean? But what do you mean?
Well, yeah, they can listen to my podcasts and they can find out. So Rick, before I wrap up, just tell everybody where they can find your content.
Right. So you can find me nowadays at justforfans.com/. ProudBator. And what you're going to expect from me is normally 3 videos a week, sometimes more, but normally three videos a week. And they are not the 20-second TikTok videos. They are proper, well-produced, half an hour long videos in which we explore masturbation. So everything that I do is relating to masturbation and cock fantasies, compilations. Like I put several hour-long compilations, and I still have videos that I haven't used.
Rick, my good mate, thank you so much for being on Sexual Heroes today.
Thank you for having me. It was such a pleasure.
Information about each guest is included in the show notes, along with links to my XXX homepage, Twitter account, and Patreon page. Patrons get early access to episodes. You can help me grow my audience by telling a friend today to visit sexualheroes.com, and be sure to rate and review the show on Apple Podcasts. Thanks for listening.